You're not Pixel. What are you doing here? That's really weird. I don't know what happened there. Okay, well, anyways, I guess we'll go straight to the Pixel and guess. All right. So that didn't work. Sorry about that. But yeah, welcome everybody to the third episode of the Pixel Perfect Podcast. I am joined, as you can see, by Tecate. He is the world record holder of Super Mario Bros. To Japan. And yeah, so Tecate, tell us a little about yourself and who are you and what you do.
Yeah, hey everyone. Well, first, thanks for having me here. It
Mm-hmm.
is very cool to be talking speedrunning on a podcast. I think it's always something
Very
I've
fun.
looked forward to. But yeah, so my username is Tecate, twitch.tv/Tecate, and I am a speedrunner of mostly NES games or Famicom Disk System, basically 8-bit games. Occasionally, I play some SNES games or some other things, but mostly NES games. Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. 2J, which is what we'll certainly be focusing on here. I
Mm-hmm.
play Metroid, The Legend of Zelda, Duck Hunt, ice hockey, all sorts of things. So a lot of NES games, and yeah, I like to stream mostly Monday through Friday during the day. If you're in the U.S. and during the work day is usually when I'm streaming.
So that's great. So on this podcast specifically, we're going to be talking mostly about Super Mario Bros. To Japan. Can you give us a bit of an overview about that game? Because when I say that, a lot of people, or maybe not a lot, but some people definitely are thinking of the game with veggies, the game where you can play as Toad, Mario, Luigi. That's not that's not Super Mario Bros. To Japan. So can you kind of clarify what the differences are between those two games?
Yeah, so of course, Super Mario Bros. 1 is the game that everybody knows about from the NES. It's usually
Mm-hmm.
one of the ones that was released with the NES when you bought the NES back in the 80s. And they released a sequel to it called Super Mario Bros. 2. The original sequel was actually first released in Japan, and in Japan, they didn't have the Nintendo Entertainment System, they had the Famicom. So then there was an attachment to the Famicom called the Famicom Disk System, and Super Mario Bros. 2, excuse me, was released for the Famicom Disk System. So this is actually what Super Mario Bros. 2 is. It is a disc. So you can pull it right out
Wow.
here, and there's the disc and everything like that. So this was released in Japan for the Famicom Disk System. This is the original SMB2. What everybody else knows as SMB2, especially in the US or in Europe and most of the rest of the world, is actually a different SMB2, of course. And the reason that there is a different SMB2 in the US is because Nintendo of America, which is the America division of
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo, decided they didn't want to release the Japanese version of it in the US. They had some issues with it, some of the difficulties, some of the repetitiveness of the look and the layout and all of that. So they decided that wasn't going to be a good release in America, even though it did just fine in Japan. And
Mm-hmm.
instead, Nintendo commissioned a new game, which was actually a reskin of another game for the Famicom called Doki Doki Panic. So they basically took a game called Doki Doki Panic, reskinned it, and basically kept all the same level layouts, almost all the same stuff. They just reskinned it with Mario characters,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that is the Super Mario Bros. 2 that most people outside of Japan know. But SMB2, what we call J, is actually the original SMB2 and is released for the Famicom Disk System in Japan. And it did eventually come to the US via the Super Nintendo. It was released with the All Stars cart for the SNES, where it was called Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. So if we refer to the Lost Levels or if we refer to SMB2J, they're kind of interchangeable. I prefer to use SMB2J for the Famicom version and Lost Levels for the SNES version.
So, since a lot of people really haven't played Super Mario Bros. To Japan, a lot when people do play it, they always criticize the game. They call it really unfair, really bad. Oh my god, you have to take I think they call it a leap of faith. Like you don't know what's coming next. So, do you think that this is a valid point that Super Mario Bros. To Japan might only be a fun and good game if you speedrun it?
I think casually it is a very difficult game, and
Mm-hmm.
so I understand why it didn't make its way towards the U.S. I wouldn't say it's unfair, but it certainly requires a lot more skill than SMB1 did. And I
Hmm.
know when I was a kid, I had a hard time just beating SMB1. So I don't
Yeah,
think I
definitely.
ever would have beaten SMB2J back in the 80s, when I was it was released in 86, so I would have been 3 years old. But like, I mean, I was playing Mario, when
Yeah.
89, 90, 91. So SMB 2J would have been available then had they released it in the US. I certainly would not have been able to beat that. So I wouldn't say it's unfair, but you definitely would have had to spend a lot of time with the game. And there were certain things that you do kind of take a leap of faith. You jump off the very edge of something, hoping that you're going to make it across, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden a random bullet bill hits you out of nowhere.
Hmm.
It's not unfair, but it certainly is something you would have to spend a lot of time with.
So you said when you were younger you played Super Mario Bros. 1. Did you play Super Mario Bros. 2 U then, which is the US version, when
I
it came
did,
out?
yeah, I
Did.
did,
Nice.
and I actually was better at SMB2U as a kid than
Hmm.
as an adult. I have not beaten as an adult, but I did beat it as a kid. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I guess I all those years of after the NES, there was other consoles, and then you go to college. I was in college and I played
Hmm.
PlayStation and FIFA and all these other games, and it's a long time of not playing the NES, and now that I've come
Hmm.
back to the NES for speedrunning, I haven't beaten SMB2 yet, and I've tried, but I did beat it as a kid.
Okay, so going, I guess, a bit more from casual to just speedrunning, why did you start playing Super Mario, or I guess speedrunning Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan? Because, SME 1 was the more favorable game, the more popular game. So when and why did you start to play, I guess, Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan?
Yeah, so when I actually first got into speedrunning, I did start with SMB1.
Hmm.
And when I got into speedrunning, I didn't have a Nintendo Entertainment System. The one I had as a kid, probably either got lost or my mom did something with it. But when I got back into speedrunning, it was because of the Summoning Salt video about the SMB1 world record progression. So I was like, oh, I can do that. No problem, right? Of course. And
Yeah.
so all I had was my laptop. And so I just downloaded the Nestopia emulator or whatever on my laptop. And I didn't have a controller. I just had a laptop. So I just played on my emulator and my keyboard SMB1. And from
Mm.
there, the next logical step in that progression is SMB2J because it has the same physics, with a couple minor exceptions.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's just a natural place to go next. And the reason I really, my cat is
Oh.
knocking things over, is
No worries.
the reason I really got an SMB2J was because, well, first I have a friend named Evad999 on Twitch, and
Hmm.
he was a lost level specialist, and I really enjoyed watching him play. So I actually didn't start out with the 8-4 any percent category. I actually started out with the letter worlds. So in the lost levels, or in SMB2J, if you beat the game 8 times on the Famicom version, you can unlock what are called these bonus levels, these challenge levels, which are levels A through D, A, B, C, and D, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I actually started with the letter worlds, then progressed over to the number worlds, which is the traditional way to play the game. And, some guy named Cosmic held the world record in that, but there was still time saved. So now that I was a really good and developed SMB1 player, I wanted to be able to challenge for the record in SMB2J because it was certainly less optimized than SMB1,
Hmm.
which is very, very optimized. So I said, hey, this is something I at least have a chance to maybe get record in, but certainly get sub 8. And, back 2 years ago, Heroes of Mine, Cosmic, and Lack Attack, and Darbian were the only three with sub 8 minutes. And
Oh, wow.
I watched all of their runs all the time. So I was like, I really want to be able to do that, just get sub 8. And I never thought I could be able to do it because the game was so hard, but here we are.
When you first started speedrunning, I guess, the game, how hard was it for you to pick it up? Because I remember when I learned, I do speedrun SMB2J as well. I remember when I learned it, it was really hard. It was so unforgiving, especially for speedrunning and first getting into it. So I don't know if you remember because it might have been a while ago. But when you first started speedrunning the game, how hard was it to learn the levels, memorize the positioning of Koopas, Goombas, and everything like that?
It took a little bit of difficulty at first. I memorizing the level layout wasn't so bad. It was
Hmm.
memorizing what the enemies can do. There's certain
That's
levels where it's
true.
not a
Yeah.
big deal, 4-1, 4-2, but like what the bullet bills can do in 4-3, or what the Potaboo and the Bowser Fire and Bowser
Mm.
himself can do in 4-4.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is just really tough because they can throw you a bunch of different patterns. So the layout wasn't as tough, and knowing when to jump wasn't tough, but knowing how to jump to react to certain things was the hardest part. And so the RNG that game can throw at you can be very tough when you're learning. Now, at the very top level, we've basically designed a way to get rid of all of the RNG. But when you're first learning, you're never going to be able to get rid of all the RNG, so it's really, really tough.
Yeah, definitely. So you're talking about RNG and stuff, and I guess that can transition over to frame rules and what frame rules are. So I see when you're speedrunning, in most levels, you only gain or lose about 2.5 or zero point 0.3 seconds. So why is that?
Yeah, so it is the, both SMB1 and SMB2J operate on a frame rule system, and what a frame rule is a group of 21 frames, which is the equivalent of 0.35 seconds. And the reason these are grouped in 21 frames or 0.35 seconds is the game checks for level completion and launches the new level. So when you complete a level, start the new level only every 21 frames. So as long as you finish in that same 21 frame window, whether you finish here or here in that 21 frame window, you'll go to the level at the same time. So if you're racing somebody and one guy beats you by 6 frames, but you're both within that same window on that same bus schedule, you can get on the same bus there. That bus will take you to the next level in the Mushroom Kingdom at the same time, regardless of whether you get on the bus 1 minute before it leaves or 1 second before it leaves. So in this case, 20 frames before it leaves or 1 frame before it leaves, it'll take you to the next level. So you will always be transported to the next level every 21 frames, or every multiple of 21 frames, 42, 63, etc. If you're losing more time or gaining more time. The only exception is when we speedrun the final level 8-4. We stop timing when we touch the axe, because that's when we lose control of Mario. We've defeated Bowser, and the game's over. So there is no checking for the level completion and going on to the next level. Timing stops right when we hit the axe. So it becomes a frame war, what we call it, kind of a frame war. If you're going for world records in 8-4, and of course I got a world record just a few hours ago by 1 frame. I beat my own PB by 1 frame faster.
One
in 8-4.
singular frame. That's crazy. Yeah. Also, I don't know if this is another exception or what, but on speedrun.com, you can see in Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan, there are 2 different columns. There's one for with load times and one without load times. But how come other games such as Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. 2U, and Super Mario Bros. 3 don't have those 2 columns?
Right. So the reason is because 1, 2U, and 3 were all released for the Nintendo, and they're all on cartridges. Everybody knows these cartridges. That's ice hockey, but those have everything right there on the ROM board, and so all the levels are right there. It can be played right from the cartridge. On the disc system, you got a disc, and it needs to load later levels in the game from the disc. So kind of like if you ever played PlayStation, you remember it would like load up and waiting. You got the same thing with the Famicom disc system. It's also a disc-based system, and so when you complete 4-4 in SMB2J, there will be a blank black screen, and depending on the condition of the Famicom disc system itself, or if you play on an emulator, or if you play on like a flash card, like a Power Pack or an EverDrive, all of those loading times are different. Even from one Famicom disc system to another Famicom disc system, the original consoles themselves could have different loading times. So to make things fair, we're not playing the game when it's just loading, so we remove the loading time so everybody is on an equal playing field no matter what you're playing on. So we record the time with loads, but the official time is when we remove the loads, because that's actually playing the game, and we're not counting black frames where nobody's doing anything. So we remove the loads for the official time for the world record.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So that way it makes everything fair. So whether or not you have a slow game for whatever reason, that doesn't affect you speedrunning wise. So I guess going back to frame rules a tiny bit, I noticed that when you start doing a run, you have your timer on a negative time. You don't actually start the game right away. So does that have something to do with frame rules, or is that just a preference, or what's that?
Yeah. So the kind of 2 things. So even if you just like loaded up the game and you just smashed start and went right away, you don't start the timer when you press start. In speedrunning SMB1 or SMB2J. You start the timer on the very first frame of 1-1, where the in-game timer shows 400. So that is when timing starts. So if you press start and you start your live split timer or whatever timing mechanism you use, you're going to want a negative timer, even if you're not manipulating things such as RNG or frame rules. So you would either want minus 2.7 or minus 3.27, depending on what game you're playing and what, like for example, in SMB1, you have the multi-cart with Duck Hunt and track and field or whatever. But in SMB2J, same kind of thing. You have to wait for the 1-1 to actually start. So we would start with a negative timer. Now, I start with a very negative timer, like negative 10.89 right now or something like that. And the reason for that is because when we talk about RNG, as I mentioned earlier, when we were like saying, how do you learn this game? Is it hard? The RNG can be very, very brutal in this game. But at the top levels, where we're playing each level perfectly or near perfectly, we are going to get to the next level at the same time every single time because of this frame rule system. And the RNG is actually determined by the time you enter that level or get to that point in the level. So if we're always getting to the same level at the same time, we're always going to have the same RNG. So the reason I start with a very, very, very negative timer is because if I wait a whole bunch of frame rules, when I get to certain levels like 4-3 or 4-4, I will have perfect RNG where I don't have to slow down or worry about getting hit by an enemy. So that's the reason we delay so heavily, is that we can manipulate the RNG and basically take RNG out of the whole game. Currently in the SMB2J speedrun for any percent, there's only 3 things of luck. One of them is a wall jump in 1-2, where you need a little bit of luck to get what we call good subpixels, which is a mathematical division of a pixel, which will allow you to do a frame perfect trick. You need good luck on that. You need good luck on 8-1, where even if you land frame and pixel perfectly, the game may or may not detect whether you bounce off the enemy. And this is called coin toss, because the game checks if you hit an enemy every other frame. So you want to have it check on the first frame, not on the second frame in this particular trick. So that's kind of the second bit of luck. The third bit of luck is in the final room of the game. There are 2 Bowsers. The first Bowser is the blue Bowser. His name is Bruce. We love Bruce. Bruce is a pal.
Yes,
Bruce
he is.
is totally a pal. He's your best friend. He looks out for you. But getting past Bruce and getting past Bowser, they will throw you random patterns. But depending on the frame that you get there, you can enter on like a good frame window. So the current world record strategy is to get there within a 9-frame window where 8 of the frames are good. So there's really only 3 frames or things of super tiny RNG now in this game.
I guess now's a good time than ever to ask why is his name Bruce? I've always wondered that, while speedrunning, is because I don't think his name is actually Bruce, for Nintendo, but people have just called him Bruce, and I feel like everyone has just accepted that fake Bowser, his name is Bruce.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
why is that?
So he's not actually a fake Bowser. He is the blue Bowser. The fake Bowsers are the ones in 1-4, 2-4, 3-4.
Okay.
You kill those and they turn into like a Koopaling or a Goomba or whatever when you fire kill them. Those kinds of things. Those are fake Bowsers. Bruce is actually called the blue Bowser in the Mario lore. So he's not actually named Bruce. I think Bruce came maybe from Cosmic and or Darbian and or Andrew G, something like that. I don't know if it was developed in AGDQ, but I still don't know the exact reason his name is Bruce. But they didn't want to call him Bowser because Bowser's Bowser, right? So they wanted to give him another name. They didn't want to call him Blue Bowser. That's kind of lame. So we named him Bruce. And then if you get to 9-3 and you're like 9, what the heck? So in SMB2J, if you beat levels 1 through 8-4 warpless, you actually go to level 9-1 through 9-4 as kind of an homage to a glitched world from SMB1. There is a gray Bowser in 9-3. His name is Doug because recently the CEO of Nintendo, the new CEO, his name is Doug Bowser. His actual name is Doug Bowser. So we call the 9-3 Bowser Doug, but we wanted to give all the real Bowsers real names.
That's fun. So I guess the name of Bruce is always going to be a mystery. Nice.
Yep.
So Super Mario Bros. 2J is very similar to SMB1, right? There are a lot of the same mechanics and everything, but is there anything that was changed, like hitboxes, or was there anything that was added that has changed the game at all?
So there were a few things. The first major thing is Mario will bounce higher off of enemies. It'll be a little bit more of a bounce off the enemy when he, like, let's say he stomps a Goomba or stomps a Koopa. He'll bounce higher than an SMB1. Another thing is if he's at walking speed and bounces off an enemy, he can bounce really, really high. And this is a trick that we use in 5-1 of the speedrun called the super jump. So you kind of slow down a little bit, bounce off the Koopa, and you'll go launching way up into the air to the top of a cliff, like a ledge you want to get on. And that's a trick we use. Another thing is they've added wind into the game. So at certain parts of certain levels, wind will be introduced, and Mario will get blown forward, and that wind actually occurs on cycles. So you won't always get blown forward at the same pace. It'll kind of come and go. The wind will. Another thing would be there's green springs. So in SMB1 you could bounce off springs. In SMB2J they brought those springs back, but they also added in not only the red springs but green springs, which will launch you like way off the screen. So same function as red springs, just an even more crazy bounce. Let's see. We have Luigi has different physics in SMB2J. So Mario and Luigi are actually different categories in the Japanese version of the speedrun because Luigi accelerates slower, he slows down slower, so it's kind of like people say he's like skating or doesn't have good traction, and he also jumps higher. So this is actually, people think SMB2 USA is where Luigi got his physics from all the Mario lore, but it's actually SMB2J is where Luigi first gained his physics of being able to jump higher than his brother. So those are some of the changes. There's other things, but those are really the major changes. And the only one that's really used in the any percent speedrun, of course, is the bounces. And then there's a couple level with winds, but you're not even really using the wind. It's just the thing that's there.
Okay. I know in 5.2, I think there's also an upside down pipe. I'm not sure if those are in SMB1. They may or may not. Is there? I think there's a trick that you can do with that. That's a very hard trick to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I didn't even think of that. But there are upside down pipes in SMB2J, and you do see those eventually, like SMB3. They make really good use of upside down pipes. In
Yeah, definitely.
SMB2J, you don't go up any of the upside down pipes. You can't. But for some reason, they programmed it kind of like the lip of the pipe there to be just the same as a upward facing pipe. So a downward hanging pipe and an upward facing pipe, the lips are kind of programmed being the same. So you can kind of jump up into an upward pipe, and by doing a certain trick, you can kind of get pulled into the pipe, like partway up into it. And then if you press down, you can actually go down the downward facing pipe. It's really messed
Yeah,
up and weird,
it's really weird.
but it's a cool
And
glitch, and it actually lets you do what we call a wrong warp, an unintended warp to different parts of the game. So it is a cool glitch that'll let you save 8 or 9 seconds versus the non-glitched version of warping to the World 8 warp zone.
yeah, and later I think we're going to be doing a race of the game, which can be very exciting. And we can definitely show off some of these tricks, such as super jump in 5.2, and such as this trick we are talking about, which is called Devil's Spell,
Yep.
In 5.1. So something that's really interesting about you that not many speedrunners do, some do, is that you use an emulator. And I know you talked about that a tiny bit earlier. So why do you use an emulator over a regular console? Because I know you do have the disc. So why an emulator?
Yeah, so it's all because of when I got started speedrunning. I didn't have a console then, so I played SMB1 on keyboard and my computer. So I had to use an emulator because I didn't have a console, and I didn't have a controller that I could connect into my computer at the time. So just played on keyboard, and I got really good at the any percent run and SMB1 any percent, and I decided, well, if I want to speedrun other games, I don't want to play everything on emulator. I want to get my own console. Like I want to feel the glory days of back when I was a kid, when I had my own console, and I had some of my games from when I was a kid, but I didn't have my console. So I got the console. It actually didn't. It did work, but it with certain games, you actually need a specific console. So I now have 2 or 3 NES consoles. I have an SNES. I have a AV Famicom. I still need to get the disk system attachment, but I'm just so used to playing SMB1 and SMB2J any percent on keyboard at this point that I'm not going to switch to console for those categories. Warpless, I have switched over to console because it requires a different skill set. But if I were to switch over to console and controller for any percent, it would take me 2 years to get back to where I am. So,
Yeah.
at this point, it's really just about saving time, not only in the speed run, but in my life. I don't want to, take another 2 years to get back to the level I'm at, especially because I want to go on and play a whole bunch of other games, like we talked about, Zelda or Metroid or whatever. So have a lot of speedrun projects I want to do, so I don't want to spend 2 more years to get back to the level I'm at. But luckily, and the good thing is, the SMB1 and 2J community is so open about, bringing in new runners. I mean, we have, I think it's like 600 or 700 submissions, or over 1,000 submissions.
Wow.
I can't remember. It's like a crazy amount of submissions just for SMB1 any percent. And that's because we allow people to play on emulator. We allow people to play on keyboard as long as they're following the rules. And the rules are fair so that it doesn't make keyboard easier. It doesn't make controller easier. It doesn't make console easier. It doesn't make emulator easier. It's the same for everybody. And it's just kind of, I always like to say, it's what you're used to. People are like, how can you play on keyboard? I'm like, how can you do this on controller? I can't do this on controller, right? So it's just what you're used to. I started playing on keyboard because that's what I had, and it's what I'm used to. But other people are used to controller, and I think it's impossible on controller, and they think it's impossible on keyboard, but it's really all the same. I mean, if it was easier on keyboard, it wouldn't have taken me 29,000 attempts to get to where I am right now.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely understand that. I play NES games with a SNES controller, and people are like, "How do you do that? It's so weird. Like, you have 2 buttons that literally don't do anything." But it's easier. I've been doing that for a really long time now, so it's just how I play the games. It just makes sense to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're playing an emulator, are there still load times? Because an emulator isn't actually on the console, so there doesn't actually have to be. There aren't any. I guess there aren't any other than levels that have to be loaded. So does the emulator have load times, and why?
Yeah, I don't know why, but it does.
Okay.
So the one I play on has about 5.8 seconds of loads. I think there's another one that's about 4.3 seconds of loads, or maybe that's the EverDrive. So different emulators have different load times. Even things like the Power Pack or the EverDrive, which you can play on your console, and you get a cart, but what you have is like a flash cart that you insert, and it allows you to play ROMs on your console. Those will have different load times as well. So I don't know why the emulator has load times, because it doesn't need it, I guess, technically, but it does.
Yeah.
So we remove it.
Okay. So you said that you have about like 5.8, I think, seconds of load times. Is that consistent with actual consoles as well, or is that not consistent?
No, it's not consistent. So like the Famicom disk system, most of them will have over 7 seconds of load times.
Oh, wow.
So like I think Cosmix has 7.4 something, and I think Supersonics has like 7.8, and Goofy's has 7.1, or different things like that, and it all depends on the console itself. But for the specific emulator I play on, Nestopia, everybody who plays with Nestopia will have 5.824 seconds of load times.
Okay, it's very specific.
Yeah.
So, are there any, I guess, really big benefits or really big disadvantages of using an emulator?
There's no major disadvantages other than input lag. So if you play on the Nintendo with the controller, as soon as you press the button, Mario's going to jump. I think there's technically like 1 frame of lag. But when you play on emulator, depending on the emulator you play on and your setup, whether keyboard or a USB controller and whatever's running on your computer and all that, you could have anywhere from 2 extra frames of input lag to many extra frames of input lag, and that stinks, especially if you have a lot of input lag, because when you press A, Mario's not going to jump right away. He might jump 2 frames or 3 frames or 8 frames later, and so that's the biggest disadvantage. But the setup I have is only 2 extra frames versus the NES, so I'm just used to it. It's 2 frames. It's nothing. Your brain easily trains itself out to not even have it be a disadvantage if it's that low, if it's that small number of frames. It's 0.33 seconds, 0.33 seconds, I should say, of extra lag versus the NES. So it's really not a big deal. And just like if you were to get a flash card on the NES, like an EverDrive or a Power Pack, and you could do save states, same with an emulator. You can practice save states right there. So it's also a good thing in that you can just, if you want to practice a specific spot of a specific level, you can do it 100 times over without having to go all the way back through the game again.
So just out of curiosity, what keyboard are you using right now, and what buttons do you have mapped to like jump or run?
Yeah, I use a Corsair. It is, I don't know the exact like make of it, but it is a Corsair. I can show right there. It's beautiful.
Yes.
And it it's Cherry MX Red switches, so has a nice fun clicky sound. And it's great. I think it's a really good keyboard. But I'm weird. Most people either map WASD for the arrows, or they use the arrow keys for the arrows. I actually use the number pad 1, 2, 3, and 5 for my arrows, up, down, left, and right.
Oh, wow.
And I use I either use C and V, but right now I'm actually using V and B because one of my keys is starting to already show a little bit of wear and stickiness.
Oh, wow.
So I always have to kind of constantly maintain the keys or switch them around or things like that. But so yeah, I use 1, 2, 3, and 5 on the numpad for my arrows with my right hand, which is of course different when you're playing on an NES controller using the left thumb for the numbers or for the directions. I mean, so I'm using my right hand for the directions, my left hand for A and B.
Oh, wow. I see, like, right now, I'm like, how do you do that? That's, like, insane. But I totally understand, like, after years of doing it, it makes sense to you, it makes sense to you
It's
how
like
it
playing
works.
piano. I mean, if you play piano, people are like, how do you do that? But, you're just used to it.
Yeah. So changing the topic a tiny bit, I see on your stream and on the logo that you have right now, below you, there is a green shirt, and I know that's really important to you. So do you mind explaining why it's so important and what it means to you?
Yeah, so that green shirt is actually one of my emotes, and it is a tribute to my brother. I have 2 younger brothers, but the one that is 2 years younger than me, so I'm 36. He was 34, and I say was because back in October, my brother Alex passed away from cancer. He had a very specific and rare kind of cancer that we'll talk about in just a second, but from the time he went to college and met his group of college friends, for some reason, I don't know why or how this started, but they would always wear a green shirt every Thursday. So they called it Green Shirt Thursday. And literally from the time he went to college, basically until he passed away, a handful of months ago, he would wear a green shirt every Thursday. Now, when he really started to get sick, he wasn't wearing the green shirt every day just because it was so physically difficult for him to change clothes even sometimes. But so I wanted a green shirt emote made in his honor and tribute and all that. And
Yep,
the ribbon
definitely.
on the shirt, the maroon ribbon, is the head and neck cancer awareness ribbon. And so the type of cancer he had is called adenoid cystic carcinoma. It's a very, very rare cancer and very aggressive and deadly. And it most often begins in the head and neck, either in like the salivary glands or some other kind of glands. His actually began in his tear gland, where you secrete your tears from. And just to put it in perspective, there's about 12,500 cases of this diagnosed in the U.S. each year, which is a very small amount. But most of those are in the salivary glands. His in the tear glands, there's about 30 to 35 cases diagnosed in the U.S. every year. If you think there's 300 to 350 million people in the U.S., let's say 325 million people in the U.S., and there's 32 and a half cases per year that are diagnosed, that makes him literally 1 in 10 million to have this cancer in the U.S. Per year. So he's like a 1 in 10 million chance that he got this specific cancer in this specific location. And unfortunately, if it spreads, you're pretty much toast. So it's very hard to prevent it from spreading, and it did spread for him, and it's an aggressive cancer, but it's a slow aggressive cancer. So he lived with it for 5 years and passed back in October. So his birthday was mid-October. He passed 11 days after his birthday and 3 days before my birthday. So yeah, had that shirt made for him, or not the shirt, but the logo, the green shirt emote made in his honor, and so I try to wear it every Thursday or some other green shirt. Sometimes I forget or they're not clean or whatever. It's not like not do or die if I don't wear it, but I definitely like most Thursdays, and you'll see on my stream often in my title or if I tweet out I'm
Hmm.
going live, it'll be like Green Shirt Thursday, and so it's just kind of in his honor. I love getting PBs on Thursdays, and
That's great. Yeah.
every year now on like because his death and my birthday are 3 days apart. During whatever weekend or whatever good day falls around there, I'll be doing a fundraising stream to raise money for adenoid cystic carcinoma research. So anything I make on that stream usually is like a 10 or 12 or whatever hour stream, and I'll play all sorts of games and do fun stuff.
Hmm.
Whatever donations and bits and cheers and all that stuff, subs and things, and I'll usually do a match as well. All that will get donated to the specific kind of cancer research because it doesn't get enough cancer dollar research. So if you donate to like whatever cancer foundation, even if it's for all cancers, they split it up based off of breast cancer has so much exposure and there's so many people that get it. It needs a lot of research, and rightly so. Or prostate cancer or leukemia or anything like that. But adenoid cystic carcinoma with only 12,000 cases a year, and specifically where my brother got it, doesn't get many dollars, and it sucks because it's so deadly. The survival rate after 5 years is around 15 to 20% with this cancer. So it needs the research dollars. So that's why I have it go specifically towards this cancer
Hmm.
research in his honor.
Yeah. I'm so sorry for your loss, and I think me and everyone in chat right now are sending you as much love as we
Yeah, thank
can.
you.
Yeah. So I guess on that note, we're going to go back to Super Mario Bros. To Japan, the game of your choice, obviously. So right now, the way I think strats work is that if there's a really hard strat that you're doing, such as Devil Spell, which is a really hard strat, it saves one frame rule.
Mm-hmm.
So have there been any strats that have been recently added that maybe weren't in last world record or weren't in a world record a few months ago that have been added to save that 0.35 seconds?
Yeah, this game has kind of come an incredibly long way in such a short time. Uh, I'm going to give a very brief history of the recent part of it. In 2000, late 2018, the record was a 759 point something, mid 759 by Cosmic, and a clip in 1-2 was known about, but we didn't have a good setup for it. That clip saves us 1.5 to 2 seconds.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was added in, and we took that all the way down to a 757.5, which I set last year in February of 2019. The game kind of cooled off, and then in 2020 again, it's heated up, and we started just kind of optimizing those same strats we had in 2019 and just made it as optimal as possible. And that took us down to a mid 756. From there, we've started adding in a bunch of crazy stuff. We've added in a faster 8-1 strategy where you don't slow down in the spot you would normally slow down. And I talked about this. This is one of the good luck spots where you have to land frame perfectly and get a coin toss in your favor.
Hmm.
We've added in a fast vine strategy in 8-2. So you'll see when we race, we're gonna climb a vine. There's a way to fall off the vine and jump even higher on the vine. That'll save you one frame rule. We've added in multiple flagpole glitches, which has been things that we didn't even have setups for until 5 or 6 months ago. A guy named Kriller37. He's been a fantastic addition to the community. He's been around for a couple years, but really in the past year and a half, he's been finding new things. And in 2J, he found a flagpole glitch set up in 1-1, a flagpole glitch set up in
Wow.
4-2. We're starting to go. We've known about faster setups in 1-2, a faster version of the wall jump in the first room, a faster version of the clip that I talked about. We used to save 1.5, 2 seconds. We can now save, an extra frame rule even over that in that same trick by setting it up a little bit faster. So there's all sorts of new time saves that we've been adding in, and right now there's still lots to go. The human sum of best. So the world record right now I set today low 757, or sorry, low 755. The
Hmm.
human sum of best is actually a 750. There's like really crazy, nutty strats out there that people won't go for in
Hmm.
runs because they're so inconsistent. But there technically could still be 5 seconds saved on this record compared to what humans have actually done in practice or attempts.
So going back, when you said a flagpole glitch, I don't think a lot of people, a lot of speedrunners specifically, don't understand how hard that trick actually is. So, like in 1-1, let's say, what tricks do you have to do before, like, actually even trying the flagpole glitch? Do you have to do in order for it to be actually possible?
Yeah, so just to kind of explain what flagpole glitch is, at the end of each level on the overworld, not like the castle levels or worlds you warp in, but there's a flag, and Mario touches the flagpole, the flag slides down, and Mario hops off and walks to the castle, go to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a trick you can do where you clip into the block at the bottom of the flagpole and grab the pole from inside, and that'll skip the flagpole animation coming down, which is about 0.35 seconds, one frame rule. So you save a frame rule doing it that way. You can do that also in SMB1, which is where it was originally done in 1-1, and it requires multiple frame perfect inputs. It requires a B input and an A input that are frame perfect on the stairs, and then a left A input and an A input at the flagpole that are pseudo frame perfect. I say pseudo frame perfect because they could either be frame perfect depending on something called your subspeed, or they could be near frame perfect depending on your subspeed. So that requires 2 to 4-ish frame perfect inputs. Well, in SMB2J in 1-1, to set it up, you need to hit a 2-frame window jump, followed by a frame perfect jump, followed by a 2-frame window jump, followed by a frame perfect jump with a frame perfect A release, then the flagpole glitch inputs, which are the 2 pseudo perfect inputs. So it requires a lot in SMB2J just to hit 1-1 FPG.
So when you say frame perfect, I think frames, it's SME2J runs on 60 frames per second, right?
Yeah,
So that means you have 1/60th of a second, like 10 times basically, in order for the trick to even possibly work, which is just insane. So once you get like a new world record, which is, I guess, you save a frame rule. So obviously you got a world record by 1 frame, which is still ridiculous. That's the fastest anyone's ever beaten the game by 1 frame. But if you save time somewhere and you save 0.3 seconds, do you then decide to add in a new trick that will save another frame rule, or do you decide to grind down with the same tricks and just try to get a better 8-4?
It could be situational dependent. If I have like a really bad 8-4, I might just try to go for a better 8-4. But at this point, when we're getting these records, these 8-4s are so good, you're looking to save another frame rule. So I actually was 1 frame rule ahead of my record in my new record today. I was 1 frame rule ahead of my old record, but then I lost 1 frame rule on the Devil Spell pipe glitch that we were talking about in 5-2. So I was back to even all the way up to 8-4. 8-4, I was able to play 1 frame faster because it's not on the frame rule system. So I am trying to save 1 frame rule. If I save 1 frame rule, exactly 0.35 seconds or 21 frames, that'll be a 754, the first ever 754 in this game. And for me, that's going to be my final second barrier. I think Cosmic may eventually push down to a 753. Anything beyond that, I don't see happening for, kind of like with SMB1 any percent, a 454. I don't see anything beyond a 753 happening for long, long, long time.
So are there any task-only strats? Tasks meaning they aren't physically possible by a human, or they're so, like, basically impossible for a human, where you have to do so many frame perfect tricks or so many frame perfect jumps that it's just not reliable at all? Are there any really cool tricks that can save time like that?
Yeah, so when I say the human sum of best is 750, that's all things humans have done. Now, of course, some of those we won't put in runs because they're crazy, crazy hard, almost task only.
Yeah.
But humans have done them like 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 5,000 or 1 in 500, but they're not really viable for actual attempts. But there are even more task-only strats, something called the full flagpole glitch. So what we do now is technically a half flagpole glitch. There's something called a full flagpole glitch where you grab the flag from inside the block, but instead of Mario walking to the castle, Mario falls back in front of the block and the level's over. So that is called a full flagpole glitch. And you can actually, a task can actually do a full flagpole glitch in 1-1 of 2J, and I think in a couple other levels as well. So that will save even more time, which humans have not found a setup for yet. I do think eventually humans will find a way to do 1-1 full flagpole glitch, but we just don't know how to do it right now.
Okay, so what's looking for you, I guess, what's in store for you for the future? I know you said that a 754 is the final second barrier that you want to break, but let's say you get that in a few months you get that time. What are you going to do after that? Are you going to switch to another game? Are you going to try speedrunning another game, or what's in store for you after you achieve your goal in Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan, or if you have a goal or a topic you want to do yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually the question I have for myself. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
I could do the D-4 any percent category, which is playing the 8-4 like I do, but then also adding in the letter worlds that we talked about, those bonus worlds, A through D. You can also play those any percent. So maybe I do that. Or maybe I play the warpless version of 8-4 2J, which I would play on my console. Or maybe I go to a different game. I've talked about running Double Dragon for the NES. Or I could go back to The Legend of Zelda. I'm very close to a sub 30 in The Legend of Zelda, which is kind of a holy grail time in that game. Like, you think
Mm-hmm.
sub 5 for SMB1, it would be sub 30 for The Legend of Zelda. I could do Metroid, which is, I used to be top 3 in the world in Metroid in the all bosses category, the most popular category. And I didn't even do one of the tricks that saves a large chunk of time in Metroid. So I could add that trick in, or I could do a different category in Metroid, the any percent category, and try to get a sub 10 time. Because I think it'd be really cool for the NES. There's kind of what they call the Holy Trinity: Mario, Zelda, and Metroid, the 3 major franchises from the
Yeah.
original NES. To get a sub 5, a sub 10, and a sub 30 in the any percent categories, and be the first person to ever do that. So there's
Wow.
so many options, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
very close to, especially the 5, 10, and 30, to hitting that, or running another game. I don't know. I want to play SMB3 kind of casually fast. I want to play Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I want
Mm-hmm.
to get another world record in ice hockey. There's so many things I want to do. I don't know what direction I'm going to go next after 754.
Yeah, I completely understand what you mean by that. Like, I feel like sometimes you feel like the journey is kind of over and you're kind of sad. You want to get that time, you want to get that 454 or whatever time you're going for in any game. But then once you actually get that, you're like, I did it. It's over. Like,
Yep.
what's next now?
Yep.
I definitely can understand that. So this Friday, I believe, you have a special event that you want to talk a time about. So if you want to mention that a bit, and I guess say something about that, would be great.
Yeah. So, for those of you who are fans of speedrunning, and I assume because you're here on the Pixel Perfect Runs podcast,
Hmm.
you've watched Pixel do the Mario Hour and other things. So we're all speedrunning fans. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of something called Games Done Quick. Well, I'm not running in Games Done Quick, but I am running in the European version of Games Done Quick. It is called ESA, and I am running in the ESA Summer Online Marathon. Normally they have it in person, but with the whole COVID thing going on, GDQ is also online. So I'm running in ESA, which is basically the European version of GDQ. And I'm going to be running Super Mario Bros. 2 Japanese version, any percent. So the run I just set the world record in today, I'm going to be running that on Friday. Currently, the time is set for approximately 6:37 p.m. Eastern Time USA and 3:37 p.m. Pacific Time USA. But that schedule, of course, is subject to change as these live and marathons. If some
Hmm. Yeah.
people have faster runs or slower runs, it could push the actual start time a little bit forward or backward. But currently slated for around 3:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern on Friday, and that will be on twitch.tv/ESA Marathon. And looking forward to having a good run there. And they also raise money for Alzheimer's, so that's also for a great cause.
All right, great. So I think those are all the questions we're going to be asking for today. We will be doing a Q&A, so if anyone wants to stick around for that, you can ask a question to me or Tecate or anything about that. But for right now, we are going to be doing a race for Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan. So just hang tight. We're going to set that up in 1 second. All right, here we go. Everything should be good. Unfortunately, you guys, I don't think we'll have audio for the game. Actually, I might be able to get it working. Actually, no. Okay, so yeah, unfortunately, we won't be able to have audio, but we will be doing the race. So yeah, Tecate, are you ready?
I am ready anytime. Do you want to commentate the race or what?
Wait, give me a sec. Actually, sorry. I'm just using a different camera because my camera currently is blocking my My face. All right, there we go. We're good. So yeah, I guess you can commentate a tiny bit about like different tricks that we're doing. You don't have to like stop and explain some tricks because this is a race. But if you want to add like Devil Spell or something, feel free. If we go into 5-2 at the same time, I might even take the slower route to show that Devil Spell saves a lot of time.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, are you ready?
I am ready whenever you are.
Okay, we'll start in 3, 2, 1, go. So that's where the timer starts, and we are off.
You guys will probably be hearing some clicky sounds on my end because of my mechanical keyboard.
You can also see that me and Tecate are doing different strats in different levels, either because they save more time and I'm just doing a slower route, or because it just sometimes there's tricks or jumps that are just preference, so you don't even have to do them. They just kind of feel nicer, or I don't know. They're really just off of preference.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to go for something called a wall jump here, which is where I'm gonna jump off of the side of a pipe, and I have exactly 2 frames to hit the jump, and if I miss it, I'm in big trouble.
And I will be going for a slower route. I will not be taking that. I'm going to be taking the route that you're supposed to be taking, which is an elevator coming up here.
All right, I got it.
Oh, you got it. Nice.
Let's go for a wall clip as well. This is super risky. I might be in big trouble here. Oh, I missed it. Oh no, I died.
Oh no. So as you can see, this is the route that you're supposed to take, which is climbing up here and then going around. So sadly, Tecate has to start at the beginning of 1-2 again, so it definitely puts him at a disadvantage. But a death in this game is more than likely, honestly. It could definitely happen, especially when you go into World 8. I could definitely take a death somewhere.
And I missed the wall jump, so now I'm in the pit of despair.
There's so many great names for like different mistakes and enemies in this game. It's great. And SME one as well.
And that just shows you how crazy this game is. I do hold the world record, and I'm getting my butt stomped. Because I'm going for very hard stuff to show it off, and I died again!
Oh no!
I'm going
Oh,
amazing.
no. You can always have a rematch afterwards.
Gotta always sing the underground music.
It's funny because they can't hear the music, so you just singing to yourself over there.
Oh yeah, that's right. I bet I
So yeah, I'm going into 4-3 right now, which has some bullet bill RNG depending on what frame rule you're on. So I could very easily die here. We'll see.
Hey, I made it out of World 1.
Hey, nice. World 4 is next. So right here could be our bad RNG.
Something cool in World 4. I'm gonna intentionally die because I have 1 life left, so I want all my lives back. So I'm gonna continue. This game has a continue option, and there's unlimited continues. If you die in, let's say you die in 4-3, you game over in 4-3. You can continue, but it'll go all the way back from the beginning of World 4, so you go back to 4-1. So in a race strategy, or a race setting, I should say, you always want to try to game over if you have to in the -1 level of the world, because it costs you the least amount of time.
Definitely. So we're going up. I'm in 4-4 right now. Right here, we could get a Lotaboo. We got a Lotaboo. You could see that Potaboo right there was very low, and if I tried jumping there, I'd have to do a very, very tight jump in order to make that. So I did safe strats, and I waited on that platform a tiny bit.
I am set up for a flagpole glitch. I might miss it and die again, so we'll see.
Hopefully not.
I'm trying to show off the fun things.
Also, you can see, I don't know if I was looking at my screen, that right there was the load times. Almost got it.
I didn't die though, but I
That's
did
good.
what's called a wall jump, but I almost got the flagpole glitch.
Which is also frame perfect, may I add. Which is
That's right.
very hard. So I'm coming up on super jump right now. Let's see if I can hit it. I'm very bad at this trick, by the way. I hit it probably 30% of the time. But we'll see if maybe I can get lucky and I can get it right in here. Jumped a tiny bit too early and I missed it. We'll see if Tecate can get the trick.
It's one of my better tricks, but it's certainly one that you can still, at the top level, even miss.
Yeah, definitely. I just jumped a tiny bit early because I was scared of dying. So I'm going into 5-2 right now, which is where Devil's Spell is. It's a very hard trick. I'm actually going to go the slow route. Oh, I died. Took a death to the Piranha. But yes, I'm going to be going the slow route in 5-2, so you can see Tecate and him doing Devil's Spell.
I got a Troll Podoboo in 4-4, the lowest possible one, but I recognized it and hesitated, so we're in
That's
good
good.
shape there.
So this is the slow route that is not used in World Record.
That's right, got him.
Got him.
It's my catchphrase after I beat Bowser in 4-4, the fake Bowser. And I have to thank my friend Goofy Chocobo for a despawn strategy there in 5-1. Go follow him, twitch.tv/Goofy Chocobo. He is the former world record holder in this game. Very nice guy. But he found a despawn strategy in 5-1 that makes one spot, instead of 99% free, 100% free. Alright, I got the super jump.
Oh, nice. So yeah, you could definitely see that trick does save a decent amount of time. And it is also a very cool looking strat because it's like, what the heck is that? It's very cool to watch.
Alright, so I'm going to do in 5-2 what Pixel did not, and this is called the Devil's Spell. It is a very cool pipe glitch, so yeah. I have to hit my head on the ceiling here. And that hitting your head on the ceiling is important, because otherwise you'll die to that piranha plant right there if you don't.
The nice thing about not super jump, Devil Spell is that if you mess it up once, you can go for it again. So it's not like for FPG, flagpole glitch, where you can only do it once, and if you mess it up, you're dead. So yeah. That trick right there can save 10 seconds. It's crazy.
No, I missed the big gap jump in 8-1. I didn't.
Are you going for the coin toss?
No.
No?
I'm
okay.
Not going for that. But I am going for the fast big gap jump strategy instead of the safer strategy, and I missed it. I've been having problems with the safer strategy, amazingly enough. There we go.
Although strats are safe, they're definitely not free. They can definitely be tricky at times.
Yeah, 8-1's the hardest level in the game, so very easy for best in the world to miss a jump there. Did you do the double bounce in 8-2?
I did not know.
All right, I'm coming up on this. We'll see if I can get the double bounce and the fast vine climb. All right, well, I got the double bounce. I missed the fast vine, but that is a cool little trick as well.
Fast vine is a very hard trick to do.
And I missed the flagpole glitch in 8-2. Almost got it.
Oh, almost. Oh, we got a pal. What a pal, Bruce.
Yo, forward Bruce. Let's go.
Yeah.
He's always
good RNG right there. Yeah, Bruce is always a pal. He always loves us. And coming up, good Bowser as well.
Double forward. GG. Let's go.
Thank you. So that is Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan. Wait for Tecate to finish out the run. We'll see if he can get a good 8-3 and 8-4.
I'll try to show off the fun strategies as well. We'll try to go for the fast things. We might die once, but that's okay.
A death is fine if you can show off how cool the game is.
Exactly. Gotta wait on this Potaboo, though. He was nice and high. So
Yeah, I YOLO'd that. I
room
got a good
after this
Potable.
water section is where I'm going to go for a fast strategy.
Mhm.
All right, I hope I hit this. Woo! Got it.
Ooh, that was close. Nice. Ooh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 bumps. I'm going to get this mushroom here, and we're going to go say hi to our friend Bruce.
This is the best trick in the whole game, so make sure you're watching.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, wait. What happened? I clipped into the floor? What? Ah, that's on purpose. And this is Bruce right here. We love Bruce. Remember how I said he's a pal? We're going to give him a kiss. Make sure to give Bruce a nice big kiss and a little dance and keep going.
Yep. Best trick in the game, I told you. You don't want to miss that. Was that second try wall clip?
There we go.
Yeah. That was a... Oh, no, I restarted back then. Okay. Alright. Yeah, GG.
Thank you, thank you. So that is Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan. I showed off all the fun stuff, how hard it is, and some of the cool tricks as well. And you showed off the nice and consistent stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this game is definitely very unforgiving. Even with your quote-unquote safe strats, it can still definitely be mean to you. So I'm quickly setting up my other camera, so give me 1 second. I think this is good.
The ESA thing on Friday, I will not be going for all the crazy strats. I won't be going for anything super crazy. But you know, I wanted to at least try to show it off here.
Yeah, definitely. So I think now we're moving on to the Q&A section. So if anyone in chat who's been watching has any questions, feel free to ask them now, and we'll give them an answer. And actually, before we do that, I actually have a question, Tecate.
Yeah.
So what is your mentality, I guess, on practicing? Because I feel like whenever I practice a strat, I get better at it, and then I get worse at it. And then I realize I don't understand how this trick works. So do you practice a lot? And if so, like how do you practice, I guess?
I practice differently from how I used to because I'm at the point where improving isn't really going to happen. It's more about maintaining my level of play. But when I'm trying to improve or when I'm trying to learn something, the way I practice is I don't just keep repeating something. I mean, I do. Like, I'll work on a save state, and I might do it 20 or 50 or 100 or whatever times. But instead of just being like, oh, I missed it, oh, I missed it, oh, I missed it, what I'm trying to do is say, oh, if I missed it, how did I miss it? What way did I miss it? How can I fix that? Not after 5 or 6 or 7 tries, literally after each one. So you're practicing with an intent to improve on every repetition. Because if you understand what you did wrong, you can fix it. And one of the best ways to fix something is to go too far in the opposite direction. So if I'm constantly doing something a frame or two too early, instead of trying to do it 1 or 2 frames too late, I try to do it 3 or 4 frames, you know, later. So I'd miss it too long by 1 or 2 frames. And then I can kind of find that happy medium. I want to figure out what it feels like to miss it short. I want to feel like what it feels like to miss it long. And I can come back towards the middle. So that's one of the things I always try to do is if I find myself constantly shorting something, I'll try to intentionally overshoot it the next time so that I can get kind of reel myself back in towards the middle.
Yeah, I know definitely sometimes when I'm doing a trick, I'm like, okay, I want this to mess up, all right? I want this to happen and this to mess up. When it happens, it's like, oh, okay, so this occurs when I do this wrong, or this works when I do this, which is a really, really good way to practice. I definitely like that mentality as well. So far we have no questions, but we might in a sec. I actually want to try to find something, ask you a question in the game, actually, so I'm quickly going to open up Super Mario Bros. Practice ROM hack right now.
Good question in the chat here.
Oh. J9 Game said, I saw your dog earlier. What is your dog's name? So yeah, you can definitely answer that.
So you can probably see my dog over there is asleep. And I actually have my cat right here behind me. She's asleep as well. So my dog, his name is LB, the letter L, like love, and the letter B, like bug. And that's because his name is actually Lovebug, but I always call him LB. So when I adopted him when he was 3 years old, that was the name they had because they say he's super sweet. And he is. He doesn't like people when he first meets them, but as soon as he gets to know him, he's the sweetest dog in the world. And then my cat is named Kai, Kai, and she's pretty independent, but she gets along with me and the dog. She just also likes her alone time.
So we have a question. Do you like Tecate?
I
Yes,
do.
yes, I like Tecate. Yep.
Yes, I like Tecate. We all like Tecate. At least I would hope you would like me. You don't have to like the drink, but hopefully you at least like me.
Kelsey asks, did you ever think that you'd world record your world record?
But did I ever think I'd world record my own world record? Like beat
I think
my
they
own
mean,
record?
I think they mean improve, like get a world record and then improve that world record further.
Yeah, I did because when I got my first one back in February of 2019, I knew I wasn't done. I just thought Cosmic or Sumwest or Grimjin or Goofy Chocobo or GT Ace or all these other big names. I thought somebody would come in and swipe the world record from me, but I kept pushing it down, and then Cosmic got it, and then I got it, and then Cosmic got it, and then I got it, and then I got it again. So just one of those things where it's a little different from SMB1, where I often feel like when somebody would get an SMB1 world record, they'd stop for a while until their record got beaten. So it was very rare you saw somebody get record 2 or 3 times in a row in SMB1. Like, for example, Darbian would get the record, and then Cosmic would tie it, and that's when Darbian would start again with SMB1, and then somebody would beat it, and then somebody would beat it. But in 2J, we're trying to get to a point where it becomes really hard to beat. And eventually it'll still be beaten, but that does mean a couple times in a row, Cosmic will get it, or Wes will get it, or I'll get it, that kind of thing.
So we have a question, how do you keep a good mentality when you reach 8-4 on a record pace? I think that's also a question that I would have as well. Like, how do you keep the pressure down? Because I know I'm a speedrunner, right? And if a few days ago I was on a really good pace, and I was thinking, like, I should learn to keep my heart rate down because whenever you're nervous, you make mistakes.
This is
how do you keep?
This is a big journey for me. I used to get super freaking nervous, even in 8-1 or 8-2 or whatever. Part of it is just doing it a lot of times, getting to that level and that pace a lot of times. But now, let's say I get to 8-4 and 754 pace, and it's the first time I've ever been on 74 pace. I'm still not nervous, and the reason is because I've retrained my mentality. I used to think, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I'd never get there again. It's so hard. Now I'm just like, yeah, I'll get there again. It's not a big deal. Like, it'll happen again. It kind of stinks that I didn't get it this time. You know, you do feel bummed out and sad because you got that far, but you have to recognize that's a really good run. If you got to the final level on PB pace or near PB pace or near record pace or whatever your goal is, you get to the final level or the final couple levels, that's a fantastic run. You need to be proud of that, not disappointed you lost the run, right? So it's kind of a mentality change. I call it positive mental attitude. And it's really changed the game for me. And now I just have fun with it. If I make a mistake, I'm like, well, that sucks. Oh, well, we'll try again, you know, and you kind of laugh it off. When you get to the point where you're joking about the record or the PB or whatever, you're having fun with it, you don't feel nervous anymore.
Yeah. I need to do that. I definitely need to try to do that.
Cosmic's current PB, his 755.7, he's like, Bruce, maybe? I don't know. Bowser? Like, he's just joking and having a good time. And, like, that's... In Cosmic learned this 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. For me, it took only maybe until the past handful of 6-12 months, somewhere in that time frame. And but now it's like the point I can get to the later levels, and I'll be joking. I'll be going into the final level on record pace, and I'll be like, "Let's Cosmic go!" It's kind of just a joke phrase between us now, or things like that. So it's just pretty fun. I'll get into the final room, and I'll be like, "Yo, mods, can you throw in an exclamation Bruce because we're about to say hi to Bruce," and it'll pull up this like audio command and you know, it's emote spam stuff. So it's kind of fun. We have fun with it now.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, because whenever on a good pace, it's like if it's a really good pace, I could definitely understand you being annoyed. Like when you kill a run or something. I've definitely been like that, you know. Some days when you're not playing well and you just can't get out of World 1 for you, or for me, Super Mario Bros. 1, and you
Yep.
get on a really good run, and then you just kind of don't jump, and then you fall into a pit and die, and you're just like, well, that sucks. Yeah,
Oh yeah, we've all been there. I mean, I just
we've all
lost
been
one
there.
a week or two ago. It was 755.0 pace, so actually
Mm.
like a couple frames behind 754. And I had it. I had a free pattern. I was gonna have a forward Bowser. I'd gotten past Bruce, and I bunked on the wall right before Bowser, costing me
Oh,
the world record by 18 frames or something like
mm-hmm.
that, 17 frames, a big world record. And I was
Wow.
definitely pretty bummed about that one. So,
Yeah.
even the best of the best of the best still can really sting. But in the end, I was still proud of the run.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we're going to wrap it up here, unless Takata, you want to say anything more, or anyone else in chat has any more questions they want to ask.
The only other thing I've got is
Mm-hmm.
when I'm done with this journey, this 754 journey, I will be making a tutorial of the whole any percent speed run for all skill levels. So beginner, intermediate, advanced, and world record strats. So I will be making tutorials for all four of those skill levels for every single level in the any percent speed run.
Wow.
So hopefully you all can pick up the game. It's a super fun game, and it does kind of stink casually when you're learning it, but
Yes, it
speedrun
does.
is better. I really
Mm-hmm.
do enjoy the speedrun.
That actually reminds me. I think that was you. I think on speedrun.com, who has a video, a tutorial video about how to get like sub 8 or something. I remember I watched that right before I learned the game, and I was like so intimidated. But then I actually like tried learning each level like one by one, piece by piece, and it actually wasn't that bad. You know, it was definitely tough at times, definitely hard some levels. You know, 4-3 for example. But just taking it step by step, I feel like anyone can learn the game really if they put their mind to it.
Yeah, oh yeah, anybody can learn it, and
Yeah,
it
definitely.
can be a frustrating game. There's no doubt about that. It can you know 2 or 3 frame window jumps even for speedrunning. There's certain jumps you only have a 3 frame window and that's it. Like
Mhm.
especially in like
Yeah.
4-3 with those big gaps. Like you have to
Mhm.
hit that jump or you're done. You fall in a pit. So it
Yeah,
can definitely
definitely.
be. It's not a run for beginning Mario players. I would start with SMB1 any percent.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
if you've done some
Definitely.
SMB1 any percent, even if you have like a sub 6 or whatever, you can speedrun 2J.
Mhm.
So I would definitely recommend 2J for those of you that want to go beyond SMB1.
So yeah, someone asked how you capturing the knowledge of your speedrun for other runners. Do you have a website or Discord? I think you kind of covered that with the videos that you're gonna make.
Yeah, we have a Mario Discord as well, and it's not just for Mario 1 or
Yeah.
2J. There's Mario 3. There's all sorts of stuff, and 2U, and so there's a Discord there. The speedrun.com site, so speedrun.com/SMBTLL for Super Mario Brothers: The Lost Levels. There's a guides section and a resources section, of course, tutorials and YouTube videos as well that I've made or others have made and will continue to make about this game.
All right, it's great. Uh, Jen asks, "What is stocking up the fridge in the background?" I think he already knows the answer to that, but he's still asking it anyways. So
Right.
yeah, take it
That
away.
is Tecate beer. It's of course the town in Mexico, Tecate. They make Tecate beer there, and that's my username. And it's just kind of a funny joke from a song that sounds like Tecate. And I was actually drinking Tecate one day when that song came on, and it kind of just stuck with me ever since.
Wow. Genon Game says, "Good luck with your fundraising."
Oh
Very
yeah, thank
nice.
you. It'll be like I said, end of October there. So we
Mhm.
raised $3,500 last year. So I'm looking
Wow.
to come close to that at least this year.
Yeah, definitely. And for all of you that aren't following Tecate, you should definitely follow him right now. I'm sure he'll be live sometime in the near future with world record attempts. So you should definitely check him out there. You can see his socials are underneath his lovely face there. So you can follow him on Twitter, YouTube, and also of course Twitch. So definitely follow him there. Um, but I think that's we're gonna wrap it up. So thank you, Takate, for coming on the podcast. I had so much fun talking with you about the game and your experiences. So
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
thank you for
thank you.
having me, and good luck with the Mario Hour progression as well. I've been enjoying watching that.
Thank you. Speaking of that, I am also a speedrunner myself. I stream about 3 to 5 times per week, so I guess a little bit of self promotion here. If you really like my content, I would really appreciate you giving me a follow or stopping by on another stream. But yeah, with that, I think we're gonna end the stream here. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and well, I will see you guys next stream. So yeah, take care everyone,
See you,
and
everyone.